Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Alyssa and I build Lego sets as well as film lifestyle type videos. So today's gonna be another Lego video. Typically I let you guys vote on which set I'll be building, but this time I decided to just pull one out of my stock and make one that I've been wanting to make for a little while, so we're gonna make this one. He's such a cute little droid. His name is BD-1. I don't know too much about this guy, but we have a lot to talk about between my trips and everything, so. But before we get started, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to make sure you're updated on all my future videos. So with that, we're just gonna kind of get started on this set. Well, I think this is officially the biggest set that I'm gonna make so far, so I'm thinking of doing this into two different videos, so it'll be part 1 and part 2. So we have our booklet, and this is the biggest booklet that I've made so far. And it looks like we have about 6 different bags, maybe a little bit more. It looks like a couple of them have like doubles, so I think I'm gonna do 1 through 3 in the first video, and then we'll do 4, 5, and 6 in the next. 1 through 3 looks like it is the bottom of the droid, which is like the legs. And then 4, 5, and 6 looks like its little head. So with that, we're just gonna kind of get started with part 1. I'm super excited about this set. I've been waiting a little while to do this one. The only thing is that I don't really know too much about him, but a little bit about all the details and everything. So this is set number 75335. It has a total of 1,062 pieces. It came out in August of 2022. So a couple years old. I looked up a few things about him. So basically he is in the video game. From what I saw, it's the video game that came out in 2019. It's called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And basically, this is a companion droid to someone named Cal. The game is set 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, so number 3, and follows Cal's journey as he survives as a Jedi Padawan. So, I don't really know anything about him, but I just thought that this set looked so cute that I finally decided to make this one. I've been waiting a little while to do a larger set too, so that's also kind of exciting. He was also in another video game, kind of the same concept. It was called Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and that one came out in 2023, and it's the sequel to the first video game, and it just kind of continues their adventure in the Star Wars universe, basically. Okay, we finished part 1. It doesn't really look like much yet. I don't even know where this is yet, so we're just gonna keep going. So on to part 2. So a lot of you guys know that I went to Portland recently. I got back a little over a week ago. I had kind of talked about before that I was thinking of trying to film while I was in Portland. So I ended up bringing my camera, but I never actually ended up recording anything. It was so nice to just get away and not think about social media or trying to record or anything like that. Just kind of like being in the moment and enjoying everything that I did basically. So I didn't really record any of it. There's a few like pictures and videos I kind of took every once in a while, but other than that, I didn't really record at all. So you guys saw my last video on my Saturday series. I kind of talked a little bit about things that I did and a few things that I got. I didn't really get very much stuff there this time. I thought that I would just kind of go in more depth of what exactly I did. So I left for my trip on a Tuesday, and it was very refreshing to have such a short flight. Like typically the past couple trips I've taken were at least 6-hour long flights with time differences and all that stuff, and it takes up a whole day and I have to plan out everything. But this one, it was so nice to just go to the airport, get on the flight, go up, and just go right back down, and then that was it. So it was so nice. And when I got there, it was around like 3 o'clock-ish. So I was able to kind of like do a few things before the day ended. So I got to my hotel and dropped all my stuff off. And then immediately my first thing I did was go to Voodoo Donuts. I found out that it was just a couple-minute walk away from my hotel. So that ended up being perfect. So I went there, I got a couple donuts. That's when I got my like little merch things. I got a mug and a shirt from there. And it was a cool little shop. It was very cute. I love how everything was pink. Like the whole building was pink too. It was the original building, because I think they have a couple in Portland now, different places, but I was near Chinatown, I believe it is, and that's right where they built the first one. So that was kind of cool. I took a couple pictures with the sign that they had there. It was a lot warmer in Portland than I was expecting it to be. Definitely not in like the 100-degree weather like it's been a lot of places right now, but it was still pretty warm for being Portland. I thought I was gonna be getting away from the heat, but I didn't really as much, but it was fine. It was still better than what it is where I live. So, and then after that, I decided to walk down to the Starbucks. It was maybe like a 15-minute walk-ish. It was the middle of the day, so kind of warm still. So I went to Starbucks and I got my Been There mugs. I collect them everywhere I go. I eventually want to have like a really cool coffee bar in my house and like display all of the cups that I've collected throughout my travels and going places. And I think that would be really cool to do. So one of these days when I stop traveling, maybe I'll think about setting all that up and can show you guys how that turns out. But the Starbucks that I went to happened to be right next to that Powell's bookstore, and so that's when I decided to do that. And when you walk in, it doesn't look like it's a very like big store, but as you walk through everything, and go up all of the floors, you realize how huge that bookstore is. Like, it was so crazy. And so that's when I ended up getting my mug from Powell's. And so the first couple hours I was in Portland, I actually did quite a few things, and I wasn't really sure how much more I was going to be able to do in Portland, but I ended up figuring out a lot of other places to go. So after I did that, my hotel that I stayed in had like this rooftop bar, and they also had like food and drinks and everything. And so I went and did that. They had some pretty good Mexican food, which was cool. My favorite thing were these, they looked like taquitos, but they like deep fried them and they were delicious, obviously. And then I had a couple drinks up there, and then I kind of went back to my hotel room and ended up going to sleep. And then we're on to the next day. So the next day I decided to go to the zoo. I know it sounds like super random, but I saw an advertisement for it on my way to my hotel in my Uber. And so I kind of just decided to go do that, and ended up having breakfast earlier. So had some brunch, went to this biscuits and gravy place, very authentic place. It was pretty good and very cheap for where it was and everything and like what I got. So that was also a plus. So yeah, and then I went to the zoo, and I could not believe how many animals were at that zoo. I spent probably like 3-4 hours there with no problem, just looking at everything that they had. And it was really cool to see everything. For some reason, I really like going to like zoos and aquariums when I go places. So I had a fun time there. And then after that, I ended up going back to my hotel, and I found this really cool, it was like the tallest building in Portland that does this like restaurant. It's on the 30th floor, something like that. And basically when you look out, you can see all the way around. So like it's a 360 view of Portland basically, and you can see all the mountains that surround it and everything. And so I went during happy hour, and I got some really delicious drinks and had some sushi, but the sushi came and it was like 4 pieces, so it was a little disappointing, so I had to order quite a few, but it was all very good. And then I had some of these like little sliders and some more drinks, and I took some pictures up there. It was a very beautiful view of everything, and you could see all the mountains that surround it, and spent quite a bit of time up there. The first full day I was there, it wasn't super eventful. Like I went to the zoo, and then I went to that 30th floor thing, and then I kind of went back to my hotel. I think I ended up going back to the rooftop for some food later, and then that was kind of it for my first day. It was very like relaxed and chill, and it was so nice to just kind of not have a schedule or anything like that. So Okay, so we have part 2 done. So we have a little bit of the body so far, and then his legs, and then his feet. So it already is looking kind of cool. This is gonna be a big little guy. All right, so we'll go on to part 3, and part 3 has 3 different bags. So I think we're just gonna open all of them. I think that's what you're supposed to do. We're on to part 3 now, and this part has quite a few teeny tiny little pieces in it, so I might stop halfway through part 3, and then the next video will continue from there. So going on more with my Portland trips, we're on to my second full day, which was on Thursday, and I woke up and decided to go to this cute little brunch spot. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like super close to my hotel again. Apparently, I just picked the best spot for my hotel. It was around everything that I wanted to go to, basically. And so I walked there, ended up getting this like egg and bacon cheese sandwich breakfast thing. But I also saw something very interesting on the menu, and I decided to get it, and I'm so glad that I did. It was something called a pancake shot. So basically, they filled a shot glass with whiskey, I think it was Jameson, and then on top of the glass was a little piece of bacon, and then they put maple syrup all over the bacon and all in the shot. And then they had another shot, and that was orange juice. So you take the Jameson, you eat the little bacon, and then you take the orange juice. And it was one of the most delicious shots I have ever had. I'm not a whiskey fan, but it was so good. I had to get it. So if you're ever in Portland, I recommend getting that shot. And then I was looking for a little coffee shop, and so I decided to go across the street, and there's this coffee shop, and they have like this limited edition collaboration with Coraline. The little movie is like the claymation. It kind of reminds me, I don't know if Tim Burton actually made that movie, or if it was just kind of like inspired by his films, basically. And they had like the windows were painted in Coraline, and inside they had like a Coraline cold brew. It was so cute. I had to get a mug from there. It's the only merch that they had that I actually wanted, and so I showed that in my haul video, and it was just so freaking cute. Okay, and then after I went to that little coffee shop, I decided to go to something called, it was like Japanese Gardens or something like that. Every time I looked up something to do in Portland, that's what always came up. So I decided to go there. I had very high expectations because everyone talks about it. And I got there and I was walking through the garden, and then it just kind of ended. And that was it. And it was a very short, I think it took me like half an hour to look at everything. I was expecting it to be like the zoo, where I was like there for half the day, and that was not the case. And so I was a little disappointed, but something that was pretty cool was they had a bonsai tree there that was, I think it was like 250 years old or something like that. Something crazy. And so I did see that, so that was kind of cool, but did not stay there for very long. It got very hot very quickly too, so I decided to go back to my hotel. I had something planned for later in the day, so I ended up going back to Voodoo Donuts and got a couple more donuts, and then I just kind of hung out in my hotel until later that like evening, around like dinner time. I had booked this really cool thing. It was called the Shanghai Tunnel Tour. I think there's more words in there or whatever, but basically there is this pizza shop, pizza bar, whatever you want to call it, and they take you down into the Shanghai tunnels that are underneath the city, and give you a tour of everything and kind of tell you things that happened there. And some people have experienced some paranormal things happening down there. But basically, they were built when kind of like the city was starting, and they were used for a couple things. So it was during Prohibition when you weren't allowed to drink or gamble or anything like that. And so underground, that's where they had their illegal speakeasies and stuff like that. A lot of bad things had happened down there. And that's also where they kept people to throw them onto ships to work for them on boats, basically, to go back and forth from Portland to Shanghai. And that's why they're called the Shanghai Tunnels. And it would take about 3 years for them to go round trip. And so they would get people drunk and drug them and just throw them on these ships. And that's kind of where they would wake up, and they would have no other choice than to work for them. It's kind of funny because right before I left for this trip, I watched this movie called Secondhand Lion, and it's a fairly older movie. It has the kid from Sixth Sense in it, and basically that's what happens to the brothers, or his uncles, is they drink with these lieutenants or something like that, and they get thrown on a ship, and they wake up on that ship. And that's just kind of how they have to work and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of like illegal gambling that happened down there, a lot of prostitution and all that kind of stuff. And people died down there too. It was a very unpleasant place, but it was very cool to go down there, and it was dark, and kind of see how things were during that time and hear all the stories and everything. I love stuff like that. Like, I'm very into spooky and everything that's involved, so it was pretty cool to see all of it down there. But with the tour, you get to taste a couple beers that they have there, and then you actually get a drink down in the tunnel where they had the speakeasy, and they have like a whole bar set up down there, and it's pretty cool to see. And then when your tour is done, they give you little tokens, and you can exchange them at their bar upstairs for a drink. And I ended up ordering pizza too. I was so hungry. I got a pepperoni sausage pizza, and it took so long for them to make it, but it was so worth it. It was so good. I have dreams about that pizza still. It was quite delicious. And then for my drink, I ended up getting a tequila pineapple. I don't know, it was pretty good. It was not too strong, but it wasn't too sweet either. It was just like the perfect amount, so everything hit very well. And then after that, I ended up going back to my hotel, and I found out that my hotel has this very secret speakeasy. It was like an underground bar. You have to kind of find it through clues and everything, and you have to knock a certain way on the door and they'll let you in, and it was really cool to do. I've never been in one of those. So I was down there, had a couple drinks. There was a couple who performed some music, and I guess that they were touring and they came a day early and decided to play in there. So that was cool too. But after that, I just kind of went back into my room and I went to sleep. So that was kind of it for day 2. Okay, so we are done with part 3. Decided to finish that one for this set. It's looking pretty cool. So I have a little bit of the body, and then his legs are a little bit more beefed out, and then got some feet on him, and so I think this is where we're gonna stop for this one. Don't forget to leave a comment down below if you have any comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring that bell to make sure you stay updated on all my future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.